EU, accessory dwelling units. That might be coming to Yonkers.
Um, I have some real concerns about it because and listen, I support the governor. I know this is part of her legislation she wants to see, and I holistically I support this governor and what she's doing. I think she's done a fantastic job. But I know that there's a movement at the state, right, to supersede some of the local laws to allow, I guess, the elimination of one-family zones, to even eliminate the parking um, the requirements that go with that. That's a little troublesome because we don't know what that really means. Will tell you this: Yonkers has too many cars, and to eliminate the parking requirements is could be catastrophic in certain neighborhoods in the city. And so I'm hopeful that what I'm hearing is incorrect, which is that they're thinking about putting this legislation in budget language and passing it in the
That's
budget.
exactly what the
You know,
conversation is.
you know, I, all, I'll say one thing: bail reform. Bail reform was a law that was passed in the New York State budget. And so what happened? No one, they put a bill in that becomes law, did not include mayors, did not include district attorneys, did not include the courts, did not include law enforcement. All of us in the front lines who had vested interest in seeing bail reform done. I wanted bail reform done, but I want it done right. We weren't given an opportunity to really say a word. Why? Because it was passed in a budget bill. Um, I don't know if it was done in the dark of night, but it was certainly done in the budget bill. So it might as well have been done in the dark of night. And so if you do that here, it's the same way of doing business, which is you're going to circumvent local law, one, and also you're not going to give the people who are on the front lines of this the opportunity to be heard. This, like I said, I don't know enough about it to tell you that it's to give you everything I probably should be able to give you. I don't know enough about it, but I do know enough of it to say this is a scary proposition and could really put the quality of life for the residents of our city in every quadrant of the city in peril.
Now, Mayor, if this was to pass, the buildings and construction would start basically immediately. Yonkers could go in a New York minute from the third largest city to the second largest city. Is our infrastructure ready to handle this?
You know, we already have we already have thousands of what we call like illegal apartments in the city. Now, you know, people who are living in basements, people are living in frankly substandard apartments, right? They're living in apartments that have only one way in and one way out. Living in apartments that maybe don't have the New York State codes entirely in place. So living in basements where we have kids who we educate and pay for, trash that we pick up, police and fire protect. All of this has an impact on the city's budget. You know, we have more kids in the school. If we have 10,000 illegal apartments, and if we have, you know, 1,000 kids, that's over $10 million, or over $20 million just for our schools. Think about that. So there may be something in this that there might be a greater good. I've yet to see what that is yet, but it's certainly something that would require a lot more conversation with local governments because the impact is going to fall on us. It's going to fall right on top of our shoulders. And it's going to fall on our schools. It's going to fall on our quality of life, the police, fire, sanitation, and taxes. And so, again, not enough said about it, not enough information on it. Still a lot to talk about in terms of this legislation before it gets enacted.
Now let's move into something that it's very hot now, you know, nowadays. especially after your interview where you are allegedly made a racial remark towards Congressman Jamal Bowman. NAACP put a press release out calling you a racist. What you think, or why do you think they done that? Does the NAACP has a political motivation to do it?
Well,
Tell us anything you like to say
Well,
about that.
I know the individual, what's her name, Keisha, I think. She's the one who wrote the press release. I know that there's a political motivation there, along with a local legislator. But listen, you had to be careful about characterizing people, who they are and what they say. You know, um, we have criticized the Republican Party for years now, saying, especially under Trump, you know, we're going to take you, we're going to characterize you as this. Michelle Obama talked about it, right? When she said, you know, when they go low, you go high. Why did she say that? Why? Because of the politics of personal destruction. And we criticize the Republicans, and we should have criticized them for that, because there was no debate allowed anymore. It was, you agree with me. If you don't agree with me, you know what? I'm going to come after you personally. I'm going to criticize you. I'm going to demonize you. I'll even call you racist. Even though there is nothing racist in anything I said. Now, let's talk about what I said, right? Congressman Bowman was talking about how he was going to get arrested or rearrested for an issue involving voting rights. And maybe I shouldn't use the word arrest. He used it. He's the one who chose to get arrested. Okay, so now I know. I shouldn't use the word arrest, but it was my intent to show the world that I wish he had the same passion for the infrastructure bill. I got schools, you know, where kids we're at 4,500 kids over capacity. I have schools where kids, when it rains out, it's raining on their head. I have, you know, 70% of our kids live at or below the rate of poverty. You know, we have real solid needs that need to be met. And so my question to the congressman was a political question, which was, hey, show me the same passion that you showed for issue A that you showed with issue B. Now, there was, I guess that there were some people who were concerned about, you know, my potential involvement in the race, and so they decided to turn that up. I get it; it's political. I get it, but we need to be careful about that. We really do, because you know, my father brought me up the right way. There ain't no hate in my heart, and you know, it's just the way I was brought up, and it's just the way it is. And you know, hate is kind of a learned thing. You know, you think about it. Follow me with this, right? So hate is kind of learned, right? And so my children, I don't teach them hate, right? But my children know how to Google, and they know how to search. And I'm sure my children have me on a search engine. And so when anything pops up with their father's name, who they, I hope, love, like I love my father, right? But who they love and adore, who they believe is a certain person, bringing them up a certain way, and they see a statement that they may see from the NAACP or from another group, it makes you wonder, makes you say, well, where does hate start?
Yeah. Mayor, I can relate to that. And you know, for the years that I've been doing this, I have seen it over and over and over, that very often we do those very same things that we criticize others for doing. Okay. And this is a Trump textbook. You lie enough that people, hoping that people will start to believe in what you say.
It really was textbook, because it was, we're going to say you said this and kind of like make this right what you meant, and then we're going to have others who are going to pile on. We'll have others who are going to see exactly the same thing. I even had some of the progressives actually change my quote to fit their narrative. And we're like, wait a second, guys, where
I
are
didn't
you
say
going
it.
with this? You know, listen, I have a 25-year record in public service. I think people know who I am and what I'm about. You know, people know that when Barack Obama said we need cities to jump on and take part in my brother's keeper, and I have a challenge, and I raised my hand, one of the first cities to do it. You know, when when uh, when the horrible incident with George Floyd happened, you know what? I stood out here in the steps of City Hall and helped paint my Black Lives Matters. When the demonstrations happened, I marched Black Lives Matters.
I
And
was there.
so,
I
you
filmed
know, and so I have a record. That's all I have to say. So look at my record, know what I'm about, and enjoy your own conclusion.
it. You know, Mayor, some people prefer to believe in a lie than believing on the truth. That's just the way it is. No, but George Latimer, you know, he also comment on that.
Yeah, I was a little surprised about that. You know, George served with my dad, and served with me both in the county legislature and in the and at the state house. Listen, it takes a lot of courage to stand up to those who actually uh, say some of the things that were said about me. And you know, I know George, you know, was under a lot of pressure.
Now let's move into what's coming up for Mayor Mike Spano. We're hearing things, and you know, I need that exclusive as well. I need you to tell the people of Yonkers, are you running for Congress?
Am I running for
Do
Congress?
you have intent?
Well, no, you know what? I've been asked over and over again, would I consider a run for Congress? And I was very clear. I even said this on that radio show that I love being mayor of the city. My intention is to fill out my 2 terms. I'm sorry, my 2 years left of my term. I want to uh, finish my term. There's a lot I want to get done, and it would take a lot for me to consider not running. So, but I was asked, and I've been asked over and over again to consider it, and I've said, yeah, I would look at it. I would consider it. That was it. I so so if I change my position and say I want to run, you'll hear from me. But up until this point, it hasn't changed.
You have not made your mind yet.
I have not made a decision that I would run.
What about the decision on a fourth term?
Definitely made a decision. That's not going to happen.
It's not
And
going
I
to.
know you've heard that before.
Oh, you told me that before, Mayor.
I know, you know, but Yonkers is ready. I'm going to say something I probably didn't say the last time. Yonkers, it's a wonderful city. There's so many great things happening. And, you know, with new mayors come new ideas and new energy, and, and there are so many good candidates out there now. I didn't feel the same way, uh, you know, 2 years ago. I feel that there are, you know, many different elected out there in our city who could take the run, you know, take the reins of mayor over. We have a real bright future, and I'm excited about that. And I'm excited to support whoever the next candidate is going to be. I've not said that I will endorse any one person in particular,
Not yet.
but I will tell you that it won't be me, but I am looking forward to seeing who comes up.
To move on. Now, Mayor, bail reform, it's a problem.
Mm.
Okay, crime, it's a problem, and I'm not going to say crime in Yonkers is going up. I would say crime is going up in many municipalities. We can see it. Okay, and we can see people that just committed crimes were arrested, and 2 or 3 days later they're on the street to recommit and recommit with violent crimes.
Yeah.
Okay, the double murder on 68 Shipman, a murder that happened on Chinatown a few days ago. It's happening. Okay, how you see that, sir?
I, like I said before, um, you know, I've been saying for a while now that while I supported the concept of bail reform because the system has been unfair to black and brown people, especially for cash bail and bail. So we needed to do that. We needed to make some kind of a change. But what kind of change did we need to make? And what New York State did was they passed a law that was written up entirely by the trial lawyers, by the defense lawyers. They wrote this bill up. So it's kind of like the person who will benefit the most writes the law. That doesn't make much sense. With no input by district attorneys, with no input by mayors, with no input by law enforcement, with no input by the judges, and took a lot of judicial discretion away. And some people criticize judicial discretion. I look at it and go, if not the judges, who? Right? If not who? I mean, who else? If you can't give it to the judge, because you have to believe in the system and the people's ability to make these choices, right? Instead, we changed these laws, and we are now. I think that we have become, as a party, somewhat tone deaf to the changes or to what New Yorkers, the average New Yorker, is feeling out there. The average New Yorker is looking at these laws and saying, "Oh, wait a second, what's going on here?" And it's not the average person. It's not white New Yorkers. It's everyone, white, black, and brown. No matter who you are, you're experiencing this. And when you look at some of what's going on, like I said, just with gang violence, we know for a fact that the guns are being passed from the oldest child to the youngest child, and the youngest child. So it's going from the 19 to 21-year-old to the 14-year-old, and they're the ones shooting the gun. Why are they shooting the gun? Why? Because we passed laws that say that kid will be out no matter what. Next day, be out the streets. We're taking judicial discretion away so that, the judges don't really have the kind of like the ability to look back to see, well, what has this person done in their past? Because the idea was the judge would be prejudiced against this person. No, we have to make sure that we protect the residents of our community, the people that live on Elm Street, up the block here, who have a tough enough time in their neighborhood because of gun violence and gang activity, need to know that they shouldn't be held captive in their own homes. So while we are doing things to maybe lighten up the restrictions or the laws against individuals in this state, we're forgetting that there's an individual on Elm Street who has to keep her home locked, has to keep the four locks on her doors. Why? Because and frankly can't walk out of her home past as soon as it gets dark. That individual that got the double murder we had, right? I mean, he had a felony arson. Sorry, a felony arson, and you know what? Under the old laws, the judge would have the ability to keep him away, but in the new laws, he got out, and then he traveled to Yonkers and killed 2 people. Where we have to look at it, and what I'm hearing from some of our leaders is it's a Republican thing. It's a Republican thing, which is insane to me. Absurd. You know why? Because Eric Adams, Byron Brown, myself, and the mayors of Syracuse and Rochester have all commented. All 5 of us, all Democrats, have said, "Hey guys, you need to relook at these laws." All 5 Democratic mayors. The New York State chairman has said we need to relook at these laws. So the public, we're the front lines. We see what's happening. We know what's happening. When there's a shooting, we're the ones who have to go to the site. We're the ones who have to see the families. We're the ones. And so I just hope that we don't have to see too much more of this before there's an awakening.
Yeah, Mayor, but in the last few days, well, let me go back. We heard that the judges had no discretion, that it was removed from a judge, the discretion. But we have seen in the last few cases, 2 or 3 cases, that some judges said, hell with the discretion, you're going to stay in.
Okay, and so what do we have now? So now we have judges making law for the bench. It's not what we want to do. We don't want the judges making law. We want the judges to enforce our laws, interpret our laws the way they were meant to be by the New York State legislature. New York's legislative branch, right, creates the laws. And it's the judges who are out there to enforce the law and to make sure that they're constitutional and legal and that people are punished or, to the full extent of the law. Right now, when you have judges doing that, I've seen it. Everybody wants to say, hey, cheer. But now we have judges who are making laws for the bench. I don't think that's healthy.
It's not healthy, Mayor, but maybe the concern is to keep the people safe. They need to find
Completely
a way
agree.
to keep those in there in order to keep you and I, your wife, your kids, and my kids safe from those elements.
Ben, you're 100% right. The intentions are right. They are as frustrated as any of us are, but they're doing that. What I'm saying is, hey, New York State, listen to your 5 big city mayors. We're all Democrats. Look at what's happening with the judiciary, and come to terms with the fact that we need to relook at these laws.
Mm-hmm. Mayor, we have to conclude sooner or later.
So,
But before we conclude, I have to ask you one more question. This one comes from Caroline Elizabeth Marie. Why did you veto the affordable housing?
okay. We have an affordable housing ordinance right now. It's 10%. It's for, what is it? It's for new developers to pay for developments. And when they do a development, they have to put 10% in. I wanted to make sure that when we have an affordable housing ordinance, that it's one that is kind of in the sweet spot, right? Because you're asking developers to come to Yonkers, build housing, build affordable housing. It's not something that the taxpayers pay for. It's something that the developers pay for. So we want to find a place where they're willing to develop, right? We want them to develop at the same time, build the housing. And so it was always my impression that we could move up. And we could, in other words, I agree that we should do more than 10%. And we are now working with the city council on doing more than 10%. But there was a movement within the city council to do 20%. 20% doesn't work. It's been proven it doesn't work. They only tried it in Portland, Oregon, and it failed miserably. And what happened was the developers came in and said, 20%? Oh, no. We can't afford to build here, because if we build the 20%, there's no more profit margin, right? They're corporations. They're private corporations. If they can't invest their money for profit, then they're not going to invest their money, right? They're going to go somewhere else. So I didn't want Yonkers to be priced out in the market. We've already built over 4,000 units. I mean, we have already built 1,900 affordable units, because we're not just building units through the affordable housing program, but we're also building units through West Tab and some of the not-for-profits, right? The CBOs that we contract with, and in building a lot of other affordable housing. So there's a lot being built. We probably built more than anyone. We will have, I think we have the best affordable housing ordinance today, currently. But we're going to have one that's even better. And the one that I'll announce, that will be the one I'll have agreement with the city council, with the Democratic majority city council, will be one that will probably be the best affordable housing ordinance anywhere. And so and that's what we're working towards. But it won't be 20%. 20% doesn't work. And like I said, all I have to say, when we talk about it, is that 20% times 0 is still 0. And I don't want to just give people a press release and say, hey, I gave you a 20% ordinance, which is what some people said. Yeah, just say you gave 20%. No, I want something that works. I want to have an ordinance where we're actually building housing. Because if we're building housing and we're providing good quality housing for people to live, work, and stay in our city, and that's what I want. But I don't want to just give people a press release and say, hey, we did something when it really didn't do anything at all.
Mayor, last thing, sustainable energy. People can opt in, people can opt out. There is also conversation about it. People, some are going to opt out, some are going to opt in. But if you had to tell the people of Yonkers, stay on it, what would be your argument?
Well, as of March 1st, Con Ed's rates are going up. People have seen their rates go up pretty significantly over the last few months. That's probably the best argument that they have today, which is that the rates are skyrocketing. Everybody knew that this year that you would see energy increases of over 50%. So Yonkers, with the help of the city council, worked with a group called Sustainable Westchester. There were 28 other local municipalities that joined the program. And how it works is this: they basically take the bulk buying power. So it's like going to Costco, right? You go there and you got 50,000 ratepayers, and 50,000 ratepayers, and we as a city, we go to Sustainable Westchester, and there is a rate that's negotiated every 18 months. There's a new rate negotiated. Con Ed does not have the same type of system, right? We all are kind of given Con Ed. We don't have a choice in Con Ed, and Con Ed will raise their rates based on usage, temperature, and supply. With Sustainable Westchester, it's based on the price that you can negotiate. And so right now, the price that they negotiated for Sustainable Westchester was about 8 cents per kilowatt. Con Ed is well over 14 cents. I think going up to their last ask was 17% for next year. So it's much more expensive as of today to stay with Con Ed than it is we go to Sustainable Westchester. Some people have criticized it because, last year it was a couple dollars a month more expensive to go with Sustainable Westchester. And you know what? It was. It was because it was a different kind of year. It was a mild winter, and the power supplies, the price of oil and all that was very, very low. That wasn't the case this year, and everyone knew that. Everyone knew that the prices for energy were going to skyrocket out of control. And so I'm glad that the city council had the courage to allow for this to happen. People get a little, I get it. People don't want to have their choice. They feel their choice was taken away from them because they were moved to Sustainable Westchester. But what they didn't realize, and if they had really looked at it, and that's what we've been explaining to everyone, is that they actually have more choices now than ever before. Because now you can choose to stay with Con Ed through your opting out. You could opt into Sustainable. You could go into your own ESCO if you want to. And if you don't want to do your own ESCO, you can go to a regular, what they call brown energy, which is actually the cheapest of all the plans. That is so good for the residents because they're going to save a lot of money. And what's beautiful about it is, and you don't have this with what they call ESCOs, it's an opt-in and opt-out. So if you see the power is cheaper in Con Ed, you can opt into it. If you see the power is cheaper in Sustainable Westchester, you can opt into that. And you're not locked in. Okay. And that's the beauty of the whole thing. You're not locked into it. And that gives people the freedom of choice to have the lowest price energy. And in today's world, the market, that's what you want.
Exactly. Better money in my pocket than in your pocket.
That's it.
Mayor, we have to conclude. But the last question is, people think it's your decision and Dr. Quesada's decision to say enough with the masks in the school. Enough.
I do share their frustration.
Is that your decision, Mayor, and Dr. Quesada's?
No, it's not our decision. Obviously, that's a decision that will be made by Governor Hochul. But I do share their frustration. I think it was the right move to go the direction the governor went in. I applaud her for that, to eliminate the mask. You know what? But we got to go the rest of the way, and which is to eliminate them in the schools too.
On that note, we conclude our interview, guys. Thank you for watching. I know that you guys have hundreds of other questions, but we cannot address every single question. But the mayor always makes himself available to us. And maybe we do another interview shortly and ask him more questions to give us a state of the city address privately, Mayor. So thank you for taking the time to sit down with us. Guys, until next time, que passem muito bem, malta portuguesa, que passem bem e até a próxima.
You